Welcome to Overtime on Inferno, your weekly roundup of all the big stories in CSGO. Quicker than Astralis gets 2-0'd at the major. Quick reminder to rate and review us at the end of the episode. It really helps us. I'm Logan. This is Aizyesque. On today's episode, we talk and actually realistically laugh about the fact that Astralis are 0-2. We talk about how FaZe has looked really, really good. And we talk about how Tyloo has surprisingly looked actually decent.
Ish.
Ish. Roll the intro. Start, I'd like to say we are recording currently on October 27th at 8:30 in the morning, which means we are in the middle of the FaZe Virtus Pro game and in the middle of the Heroic Copenhagen Flames game.
Currently, Copenhagen Flames are winning, by the way, and are about to go 3-0. Well, maybe. I mean, this might age really badly, but Copenhagen Flames are like close to going 3-0 right now. By the time you hear this, they might be out. That'd be funny.
It's currently 10-9.
Yeah,
right now on map.
But they're
2.
a map up.
Yeah, they are a map up. In the wise words of Aizyesque, heroic don't lose to underdogs. So
Copenhagen Flames are no longer an underdog.
I was gonna say, obviously, Copenhagen Flames isn't an underdog anymore, which I tend to agree with at this point.
Yeah, I mean they've been obscene. They smashed Astralis. All right, Astralis have got their own problems, but they smashed them. Like, it was not close at all. And then they did the same to Big, right?
To Big, yeah.
They. I mean, it wasn't quite as dominant, but they beat them quite handily. And Big, are, as we've said before, are a very solid team. Like that, Big are often a gatekeeper to being a very good team. So if you beat them, you're probably a very good team. Okay, it's best of one. Okay, whatever you want to say, but I don't know. Copenhagen Flames are looking to, for a terrible pun, they're looking on fire.
So, you ready for a terrible statistic that has nothing to do with Copenhagen Flames, but has everything to do with Copenhagen Flames?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yesterday, there were 16 matches played, right? There were eight best of ones in each set. There were 2 sets of best of ones. Of those 16 games, 7 of them were Nuke.
Yeah, it certainly felt like 10 of them were Nuke. There were times I was watching 2 Nuke games at the same time. I thought, this is terrible.
Yeah, I wanted to bring it up because teams that really like Nuke really performed yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Like, FaZe really performed yesterday and historically have been a pretty good Nuke team. So I guess I'm wondering what your opinion on this is do we see a lot of teams in a place because they're best of ones and because we've been forced to Nuke and Overpass, I believe, are the top 2 ones? We have 1, 2, it's just 2 Overpass games. Basically, it's like Nuke and then everything else.
So the reason I think there's a lot of Nuke, there's a couple of reasons. One is that most teams are pretty comfortable on it, and when it's a best of one, you're going, like, a lot of teams will be happy to play Nuke. Like, they'll be, you're not going to get your favorite map probably. You probably won't get your second favorite map. So Nuke is usually a pretty decent middle ground for most teams. Pretty much everyone plays it because you kind of have to, because it's been in there for so long that you have to be able to play it. And secondly, if you're a good team versus an underdog, you want to avoid Mirage and Inferno and probably Dust 2. So if you get Nuke, even if it's one of their better maps, in the case of Copenhagen Flames or something, like, you're still pretty happy because you're not playing them on an upset map. You're not playing them on Dust 2. If you're a good team, you probably think, doesn't really matter how good they are at Nuke. We're a better team. Nuke is a map that lets us show that. So I think that's a kind of underrated reason why Nuke is getting picked so much, is that people don't want to play Mirage and Inferno against teams they think they should beat.
Okay. So let's talk about this on a more macro scale for a minute. So day 1 finished up last night. Actually, before we talk about this, screw it. We're talking about the fact that the major is basically unwatchable in North America.
Is that because you get banned for typing 16-0 in the Twitch chat? Is that what it's
No, it's because the first match is at 4:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, it's not great.
Which means it's 1:30 in the morning on the West Coast. It's terrible. I was at work for 7:30 in the morning yesterday. I got to watch 3 matches. It was great because I had to wake up and be at work at 7:30 in the morning. it should not be that I have to be up for 7 a.m. to watch not even like the back half of the matches. Like that.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible. I mean, it's kind of bad for me having to wake up at 9, so I can't imagine how bad it would be having to wake up at 4:30.
I mean, I'm not actually waking up at
Well, no, quite.
4:30, but still, like normally tournaments don't start for you till like noon, right?
It does kind of depend, but often,
Not
yeah,
like you specifically, just in general
yeah,
tournaments timing wise, it's like noon, 1 p.m. At least that's what it
yeah. I
feels
mean,
like
that would
here.
have made more sense, I think, but
Uh, Whatever. Um,
I will say it's much better for Asia and Australia, which I
it
mean,
is.
often those guys are pretty pretty like mistreated by
All
like the
right.
times. It's like, Australians have to stay up till like just I follow a couple of Australians who are like obviously actively following the Renegades and the Mouse games because of Dexter. Um, and they're like pretty excited. They actually get to watch parts of the major. So I mean, it does, but it absolutely sucks for Americans.
Yeah.
But the 16-0 thing was just, I don't know if you saw that Reddit thread of people complaining, or somebody complaining that his Twitch chat experience has been ruined by them banning people spamming 16-0, which is certainly an
No, but
interesting
that's
take.
great. All right. So I wanted to talk about. I'll talk about what happened yesterday, just based on bracket of team. Right. So I've got the bracket up of who's 2-0, who's 1-1, and who's 0-2. We could talk in the 1-1 team slot. We can talk a little bit more because we have another game to go on for most of them.
Yeah.
But let's start with the 2-0 teams.
Ooh,
As you drop your microphone.
Yeah, that's it. I'm out. Drop the mic. I'm off.
Done. So in terms of 2-0 teams, which one, them being FaZe, Virtus Pro, Heroic, and Copenhagen Flames, which one did you think would had the least chance to make it here to 2-0?
I would say Virtus Pro, but their draw was pretty kind. Like the teams they played,
Yeah, they
you'd
played
expect them to win.
Pain than Movistar Riders.
Yeah, and like Movistar are good, but you'd expect VP to win both of those. FaZe had a bit of a more difficult run, so possibly them. But Copenhagen Flames is the obvious answer, right? So you probably have to say Copenhagen Flames. Astralis and Big, and they beat them both. Like,
Yeah.
fair enough. Like you deserve your 2-0. Like you worked
Yeah.
hard for it.
Copenhagen Flames looked really good yesterday. And you know what I think? I think the weirdest part of this, and I guess it's not that weird. I think it's just because we're in a bubble in Counter Strike in which we say something that like most of the things that we say are generally agreed upon by like peers. Is that we said ahead of time Copenhagen Flames were good.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure both of us said ahead of time that we had them moving on to the next stage. Like
you were definitely higher on them than I
I was
was,
definitely
though.
higher on them. And by the way, I changed them out in my pickings like last minute when I was like 20 minutes before I had to go to sleep, before like 3 hours before the first
That's
major game. And I was
disappointing.
just like, I tinkered and I just like, I took Copenhagen Flames out and I put Godsend in. That was a poor decision. Not the point here.
I couldn't decide whether to leave Heroic or Astralis out. I didn't actually like do pick'ems because I didn't want to. I didn't pay £7 for it because I was like, come on, right? I'm spending like hundreds of pounds to go to it. Like,
Yeah.
you're not having my money for the viewer pass as well. But but I posted them on Twitter, and I'm pretty sure I put Astralis in and left Heroic out, which, as we'll get on to, probably should have been the other way around.
Yeah. So, but both of us were super high on Copenhagen Flames, and I think it's really surprising watching Twitter like exist after Copenhagen Flames is 2-0 and like taking it to Heroic right now of just like, yeah, Copenhagen Flames are a real team. Congratulations. Look. And you see they're 2-0. They're fighting right now for being 3-0, and everyone was I had people that were like, no, they're not gonna make the group. I had people that said that Copenhagen Flames were gonna go 0-3. And it's just like it feels like to everyone else this is a huge wake-up call, and it really shouldn't be.
Anyone who said they'd go 0-3, I think, is a bit insane. And I'm saying that as somebody who put Mouse 0-3. But I stand by that. I mean, I feel pretty vindicated by their performance. That I put them 0-3. I mean, we'll get onto it. They're currently 1-2. I feel pretty vindicated. I'm like 1-3. If they end up 1-3, it's not that far away from 0-3. Like, if you put Tai
No.
Lu, you're currently as far away as I am when I put Mouse. So
Yeah.
I
And
feel
if
a
they,
little bit vindicated.
honestly, if they didn't draw against Sharks round 1, they're probably on 3.
I really thought they were going to lose to Sharks. I
Um,
was convinced.
all right, let's finish up the tunas. FaZe have looked absolutely insane because Karrigan has looked like the best player in the server. The
Yeah.
the oldest player in the major.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw that graphic that HLTV put up the other day, but it's like Karrigan, then it's Shocks, then it's Olaf, and Karrigan has been the number 1 performing player at the major, and it's just like, yeah, everyone who said that age matters in Counter-Strike, you're just wrong right now.
Well, he's FaZe's
Right.
best player. I think Roy is the highest rated player.
Oh,
on
yeah.
Copenhagen
Well, Roy's like
Flames.
27.
Yeah, no, but I
It's
mean,
not
you said
unproven.
like the highest rated player in the major.
Okay, he's the highest.
But he's
rated
also
player.
27, which I mean only
Yeah.
exists to further the point. Like, he's the same age as Olaf, I think. If not,
I think he's
year
a little
older.
bit younger. I think Olaf's 29.
Is he? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, either way, like, yeah, the with the first trip back to LAN, all the old heads are showing up. I never think of Shocks as that old either.
No, neither do
Obviously, he's been around for ages, but he looks like about 19. I think it's probably the ear piercing. He looks so young.
I always forget he has like a tattoo on the back of his back that goes up into his neck. And I saw a picture the other day of just like him facing away in a like it was like a publicity picture for Vitality or something like that that had like GL Major and it had like the arena in the back. And I was just like, oh yeah, he has he has like a cool textured tattoo thing that goes up the back of his neck. It's weird.
I don't think I knew that, but like, you look at him and you're like, yeah, you've got
Yeah.
a back tattoo, haven't you? You could just tell. He looks like he's got a back tattoo.
All right, so FaZe. Good.
Yeah, FaZe are really good. I have been sort of touting the 21 to listen as a semi-final team, and man, they're scary, dude. Like, I don't know, Twists, as we all know, is really good, and Olaf actually looks clean again.
Yeah. Olaf
He's
had an
been,
insane play on Overpass yesterday that I saw the highlight of.
Yeah.
I ended up watching just whatever match I wanted to watch yesterday, not whatever match everyone wanted to watch. So I think it was in the game against Spirit, but I'm not 100% sure. Regardless,
Probably. Yeah, he had an ace against Spirit, I think.
let's talk about Virtus Pro. Kind of surprised they're here.
It's relatively easy draw. They've looked a little bit shaky. Jury's very much still out on VP. I mean, people are gonna draw whatever conclusions they want based on how much they like Sanji.
Yeah.
Jury's very much out. Flit is really good still, but
I'm not sure he's the replacement that they needed. I think the jury is not just still out on VP. I think the jury is still out on that move.
I think the jury was out on VP anyway. Like, even with
Yeah.
Sanji, do you like? If they were 2-0 with Sanji, you'd still be like, I have no idea if this team is any good.
I mean, I feel like that's the point we've been repeating for the last 6 months.
Yeah,
But,
exactly. Like, VP, I mean, I still think it's a good move. I think it's having Sanji is good. Like, yeah, obviously he has the things that he does and all of that, but you're hard capping yourself. And if you really want to be the best team in the world, you can't be carrying Sanji. Like,
Yeah.
and it's a shame, but that's how I feel. And if you really do want to be one of the best teams in the world, getting rid of Sanji and getting Flit and hoping it works is probably your best bet.
Yeah, agreed. Heroic. I think this surprised 0 people. I almost jinxed this entire run, or I made this run happen. We'll go with I made this run happen.
I don't think you want that. You don't want to be the guy that made
point.
Heroic win. Nobody likes Heroic.
That's a good point. I was the guy that made Tai Lu lose. We'll go with that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that puts me in a
it's
better
a little bit less,
yeah,
but it's still not great.
I queued
love
up
Tai Lu.
for those of you who haven't seen the internet webs. I queued up a tweet that said, "Bro, don't lose to underdogs." When Tai Lu was looking like they were about to beat them on Inferno, and then Tai Lu got smashed in the last 6 rounds.
Yeah, so that game was weird. Like, we'll get onto Tai Lu in a little bit, but
we'll get on to Tai
weird
Lu.
team. But Heroic, as I say, they don't lose to underdogs. Like, if they are in a close game with somebody they should beat, they just always seem to beat them. Like
Mhm.
Gambit are quite similar. Like Gambit just don't. They very rarely get upset. I mean, they are one of the best teams in the world. I mean, that goes with the territory.
Yeah.
But like even when Na'Vi were one of the best teams in the world, you still would expect them to lose to just teams you've never heard of. Sometimes, like Heroic, are pretty reliable at beating teams worse than them, and most teams are worse than them. So they're a very good team. And that, I mean, that's basically it, right? Like Heroic are a well-structured team, and they have more firepower than most teams because their in-game leader is a very good player. So you basically have 5 players who can frag instead of like 3 or 4.
Unless you're on phase, in which that case you have 5 players who can frag.
Well, apparently, I mean,
Apparently so.
well, that wasn't the case a month ago.
No.
But now it is. So no, Heroic are a good team. There's nothing more
Actually,
you can say about Heroic that hasn't been said 100 times before.
I actually want to talk about something that hasn't been said with Heroic that we haven't talked about. Exists is their current coach right now.
Yeah. So their vetoes might get worse, but other than that, they should be fine.
I haven't seen a difference, which is probably a good thing, to be honest.
Yeah, and maybe they're just like you can coach the in-game stuff, but please do not do the vetoes for us. We've got that. We've got it covered.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the 1-1 teams who are now not 1-1. Actually, let's move on to the 2-1 teams.
Okay.
I have a list of them.
Big team spirit.
So yeah, we'll start with Big. I have not been high on Big this entire time.
Any win they get is a win for North because they have the last remaining member of North in game.
In the main.
So
I think that is actually the last remaining member of North in this major right now, other than Aizyesque, who we'll get onto in a minute.
Yeah. Big. I always refer to them as a gatekeeper team, kind of similar to Heroic, but a bit worse. They're like Heroic with less firepower. Like they're reliable, they're structured. If you make mistakes, they will punish you really hard. But they're kind of like, I don't know how much you like tennis. I don't really like tennis, but this like it's always an analogy I have on hand. They're a bit like Rafael Nadal, and that they won't make their own points, but if you make, they will just wait for you to make a mistake, and they will pounce on any mistake you make, and they will just outlast you. They will wait, and as soon as you make a mistake, they jump in and they kill you off. That's how I see Big. They're a really good team, and that's why they reliably beat teams who are a little bit unstructured, who are a little bit loose, who are a little bit out of form. They will reliably beat them. When they come up against Copenhagen Flames, who are on fire and don't make many mistakes and are a very good team, they will fold to them. They often make it close against good teams, but they rarely beat them.
Yeah.
And when they do, they have like one tournament a year where they go flying. But I mean, Big are quite boring in that you know what you're going to get from them, and you know you're not going to get probably more than that ever. But they are a really solid team, and it's always nice to see Tabson play.
Agreed. I can agree on every single point on that matter. Who's this? Entropic. Let's move on to Entropic. I like Entropic. I think they are fun.
I want to like them.
On Entropic.
Like, Entropic are the exact sort of team that I normally would root for. And I've always liked Crad. Like, so that's Crad was part of that Dream Eaters roster, right? That
I think so.
Got their way into a major through a major qualifier.
I think Crad was part of the Dream Eaters roster, and then Victor and Bubble were both part of Windigo.
Yeah, Victor and Bubble are on Fiend, though, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking the wrong team. There's 2 players on Entropic who are from Windigo, if I remember correctly.
Are you sure? I don't think it's Nickelback, Lackey, Elian, and Forrester.
I think Forrester and Nickelback used to play for a team together.
They were on
Windstrike. They were Windstrike.
Windstrike. Yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That was early this year. Windstrike, old Dream Eaters. So
yeah,
this is like resurrection of Dream Eaters to a degree.
Yeah. So they have some sort of major
experience,
pedigree. Pedigree is what I was looking for. Major pedigree. Like they have they've shown they can actually compete at a major. Like they get that major buff that is really hard to sort of comprehend and to and to make tangible, but it seems to be a thing. Crad is an absolute killer, bro. I really like this guy. I think he's good. And they have a player called Nickelback, so it's really hard not to want them to win because
Okay, so
it's just a funny name.
I've been trying to see. I haven't spent enough time doing this, but I'm trying to see if there's a sticker in Counter Strike that looks similar to a photograph. So I can put a Nickelback sticker and that photograph sticker on a weapon, and just call the weapon this photograph, because I think it's just absolute top tier humor.
Very good. Whenever he plays, the Twitch chat is full of people spamming the lyrics of "This is how you remind me," which I just think is really funny. Like, I didn't really pick up on it at first. I was like, "Why somebody like put How You Remind Me by Nick?" Oh, Nickelback, brilliant, very good. I mean, it makes me laugh.
Let's talk about Spirit.
Yeah, they played at 9 a.m. twice. I managed to catch on the first day. I managed to wake up at 9 a.m. Today I woke up at 9 a.m., saw 3 rounds and fell asleep again. But I didn't really miss much because they destroyed Tyloo. Absolutely destroyed them. Team Spirit, I was a little bit worried. Like, first day, I lost to FaZe Clan, and it wasn't a particularly close game. It looked, I think it was like 16-11 or something, but FaZe, I think Spirit got both pistols, and FaZe still just like won out, and it was like, okay, FaZe are here to play. You don't feel too bad for Spirit. And then it got a little bit close against Godsent, and I was like, okay. I like Godsent, but
not that
Team
much.
Spirit, yeah, like, Team Spirit need to, and then they sort of showed some class and power through, and I was like, okay, this is the Team Spirit I was waiting to see. And Tyloo had been a little bit, that they ran heroic quite close. I was a bit worried, and then Spirit just smashed him, and I was like, okay, this now I'm like, all right, I'm on board, I'm back. Spirit are enthused. They're ready to go. Like, I'm happy now. Like, this team is just packed to the brim with talent, with firepower. And if they can find a way to work together and to actually like have some sort of strategy, this team is really dangerous. Even if they don't have strategy, they're dangerous. But this team has a lot of talent, and there's no reason Spirit shouldn't be able to win one of their 2 best of 3s.
So before we talk about this last 2-1 team, I'd just like to tell everybody to please go on to Spotify, Apple Music, whatever your music thing of choice is, and search up the song Easy for Ents and just start have it playing before we talk about this.
I really thought you were going to ask people to like leave a review, and I was like, we're really plugging this in the middle of the podcast. No, you're going Easy for Ents. Okay,
I'm going Easy for Ents because Ents are 2-1 and have looked sick.
Yeah, Ents look really good.
The only team they lost to is FaZe, and as we said, FaZe is an acceptable loss right now.
Yeah, like that's how high we like. Ents look really good, and FaZe still beat them. Spirit have looked decent, and FaZe beat them. Like, FaZe are about to 2-0 VP. Like, as we're recording this, FaZe are really, really dangerous. Like, it's kind of scary.
By the way, update: Copenhagen Flames heroic match will be going to map 3.
Yeah, it's 1-1, right? Heroic again, like, there's just sort of, they're so, when it gets close, when it looks like it's sort of neck and neck with like 10 rounds to go, they always just seem to pull away. Like, that's, it's what they're good at. Ents, I don't know, man. I don't know how this team's so good. Like, I guess I just slept on Snappy for so long. Like,
you remember how we were talking about old players in the major?
Yeah,
Snappy was number 2.
Yeah,
Snappy's like 30. I think it's 30.8 years old or something like that. Basically,
that's not how you can't do age in decimals. I'm not having that.
I'm not saying I want to. I'm just saying I'm going based off the graph chart thing.
Yeah, 30. That's not right.
Graphic.
But like I was sort of co-casting the Ents Godsent game, with Travis, and one thing that was so noticeable was Snappy's sort of read was always like on the CT side. He's just constantly getting multi kills, shooting people in the back with the A1S. Like, he'd just like lurk through radio, or he'd push through something, and he was just, and his timing was always perfect, and he was just picking up multi kill after multi kill in the back. Like, Godsent just did not know how to deal with him, and eventually they just had to slow it down and try and wait for him, and then and Snappy realized that and didn't push again, and he was such a thorn in their side. And if your in-game leader is doing that, it's just so much easier. If your in-game leader's getting all the info and calling, there's like that takes so much
Well,
pressure off the players.
it's like art, but he doesn't die.
Yeah, a little bit. It's he's getting info. He's telling you what to do with the info. You barely even have to think. You don't have to do anything. You just have to just stand there and hold your crosshair in the right place.
And the rest of the players are very good at that, we'll say.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
they're not like super stacked, but they have enough talent for what they need to for what they're doing.
Let's move on to the 1 and 2 teams. These teams have got here from various ways. Some have gone 1-0, then down to 1-1, then down to 1-2. Some have just lost. Obviously, there's two different. So the way that these teams worked, I don't rate very many of them highly. We'll start with Movistar Riders, who to get their one win beat Renegades.
Yeah,
Then lost
Renegades
to
are
VP.
decent.
Renegades are decent. Renegades is always my pocket pick for majors. Because I don't know. I watched Starlighter Berlin 2 years ago and watched Renegades get to the semifinals, and I know it's a totally different team, but I don't really care because I feel the same way about Australian Counter-Strike that I feel about like Chinese Counter-Strike, which is that like they're going to come in with something insane that you probably haven't seen before because they practice internally and they don't play other events. Now Renegades are a bit more open than like Tyloo.
They're also a
Because,
little
like-
bit less insane.
Yeah, but like you get the same kind of thing from them, which is just they're going to play the Australian way, which is not the European way. It's not the American way. It's the Australian way. So they'll do
Yeah.
whatever they want within reason. So I guess we'll talk about Renegades now that we're talking about them. But Renegades got here by losing to Movistar Riders, then beating Pain Gaming.
Yeah. We'll get on to the rest of Brazil as well because that's
Yeah.
not great. But
I'm kind of
Pain, Pain don't have enough firepower, and neither really do Movistar. So Renegades are yet to play against a really explosive team. Like they've played
they
three
are.
sort of.
They played against Big today.
Yeah, exactly. Like they've just sort of played
that's a good point.
three sort of. Movistar and Big are quite well, both kind of like structured. They're not that explosive,
Mhm.
and then Pain kind of explosive, but they don't really have the firepower for it. Like I kind of want to see Renegades against the Godsend or against somebody like that, somebody who will just try and duel them, because I think Renegades actually have a decent amount of firepower for the sort of level they're at, and they're not a bad team by any stretch, but it's looking real like they have to win 2 best of 3s back to back now, which is I can't see them doing it, unfortunately. Like,
yeah. Movistar, I think, are in the same place.
If they get a decent draw in the 1-2, I can see them getting to 2-2, and then it's in the hands of it's in their hands. I was not really in the hands of the gods, but there's like I'd be more comfortable saying Movistar are getting out because I think they're better against good teams. Maybe I'm not really sure. I just kind of think Movistar are a better team. I mean, they beat them in the best of 1 in the first place. It'd be kind of nice if Movistar Renegades rematch was a 2-2 game, but I'm not even sure that's possible. I'm pretty sure it's not, actually.
Movistar Renegades being a 2-2 game. I don't know exactly how the boot cult system works with seeding, but
no, I don't. But I think, yeah, I don't know, but that'd be pretty cool because I feel like one of those teams being in the major would be pretty interesting, and I'd like to see it be Movistar. But again, they need to win 2 best of 3s back to back, which is not easy.
Let's talk about my favorite team to talk about in the major, Tyloo.
I have literally no idea. I came in thinking Tyloo.
Which is the best part is that nobody has an idea.
I came in thinking Tyloo were terrible. They lost to Heroic, and that made me think they were better. And then they won against Sharks.
They won against Sharks. Oh my god, this match was the most. It wasn't the actually most watched match, that was phase ends, but it sure as hell felt like it because everyone was watching it for pick'ems. Because everyone either picked Tyloo or Sharks for their 0-3 slot. So everyone's watching it, just
I think
hoping
if
that
you
the
include
teams lose.
Chinese viewership numbers, it might have been the most watched.
It
game,
might have
honestly.
actually been, but like,
yeah. So and then you're like, okay, so you ran it. You were quite good against Heroic. You beat Sharks, all right, and then you just go and get smashed by Team Spirit. And I'm no closer to knowing if this team's good or not. I've literally no idea.
Here's the problem, right? Is that CIS Counter-Strike is just baby version of Chinese Counter-Strike. Of just like pure aggression.
That is a galaxy brain take, that is.
Right?
CIS Counter-Strike is the baby version of Asian Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's worse. I think CIS is probably a better overall thing, but like
you reckon?
Yeah, but the aggression that we get from like CIS teams are known to be extremely aggressive and known to take aim duels constantly. That's just like Asian Counter-Strike is that, but on steroids.
Yeah, Tyloo looked like they sort of actually figured out.
I was gonna say they looked like they played slow though.
Yeah, they looked like they'd figured out how to play, and then you just go and get smashed by Team Spirit. Like, it just sort of completely threw me. I'm like, I've no idea where to place them. Like, I don't know who they're going to play in the 1-2 game, and whoever it is, I have no idea. Like, they're probably going to lose, right? I think.
What if it's Renegades?
That would be spicy. I think it might be Movistar, which would be kind of fun.
I think it actually is Movistar, but
that'd be fun.
All right, let's talk about the team that we all knew was going to be here, but couldn't put in our own minds that they might actually be here, except for you, Mouse Sports.
Yeah, this team is just kind of bad. I don't know.
Here's my thought process here. Basically, they got a logo debuff. They got a new logo, and they've just gotten worse. That's all it is.
They were this bad before.
Yeah, but now they can blame it on the new logo.
They can blame it on that, but I mean, it's not really the point. There's plenty of things you can blame it on. But
you can blame it on A-Core too.
A-Core's not great. I don't really rate Dexter. Like, the other three are pretty good. Like, I mean, Robs is insane. BMAS is pretty good. Frozen is a monster. Like, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't really get Dexter as a leader. I don't think he's great.
This team live or dies by Robs.
Yeah, which normally is a fine thing to have. Like, you can live or die by Rops and still be one of the best teams in the world because he's that good.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about that with Simple and ZywOo. Is like those teams live and die by Simple playing well and ZywOo playing well.
But the difference is when Simple plays well, Na'Vi usually win.
Yeah,
when Rops plays well, Mouse don't always win.
Yeah,
I don't know.
All right, let's move on to the South American plus Australis region. I'd like to say something about this as a North American. Okay, Brazilians came and played in the North American major instead of the South American major because they're living in North America right now, right? Took slots from North American teams. Again, no problem. They earned their spots rightfully, and all of them are now in the 0-2 bracket.
So, it's weird. Like, obviously the South American teams being in the North American bracket always seemed a bit strange to me. But having seen them go 0-2, I now realize that actually these guys are a good representative of North America.
I mean, to be honest, I can't say that like EG would have done any better.
No. I there's nothing more American than going 0-2 at the major. So
I mean, NA stands for near airport. So
exactly. So if anything, they're just sort of really fitting in with their. To be fair, last and only North American team to win a major, Cloud9, went 0-2 in the group stage.
You know what? You could be right there.
So all I'm saying is, I'm not supposed to bet on Counter-Strike. I don't think, because I work in it and could be seen as insider trading. So I'm not going to put a quid on Godsent winning the major, but. If I was allowed,
I might.
I probably still wouldn't, but I would consider it because it happened to Cloud9 and Godsent are the best American team at the best North American team at the major. So I'm trying, man.
Yeah, all these teams look terrible. Like straight up. Like no, I don't think it's.
Uh, I will say there's a caveat for Godsend. They played Ents and they played Spirit. Like that's not easy. Pain, you lose to Renegades and you lose to somebody else who they lost to.
Virtus Pro.
Virtus Pro. Okay, well, fine. But you
Sharks
lose to
lost to
Renegades. Probably fine being 0-2. Sharks, you didn't expect much from anyway. They have one good player. And Astralis as the final North American representative.
Astralis said, if we can beat them, why don't we just join them?
I will say, I mean, I said Gade was the last remaining member of North.
No,
but Astralis did cut one of their, did cut a player for no reason, which is the most North thing I can think of.
Do we want to?
So in a way, North Spirit lives on once more.
Do we want to talk about this for a minute?
Yeah, we can talk about this. It's a good segue.
It's a good segue. So the only imminently major related story that we have today, Bubzkji's being shopped around.
Yeah. So a couple of teams that I've heard have been offered Bubzkji, and that was around IEM fall as well. So like before the major, while they were qualifying. I don't know if this means that Aizyesque and Dupree are staying.
Actually, I think
no info on that.
I think by math, only one of them can stay. Because
it's going to be like the Hunger Games. They're going to have to fight for the spot.
Because we know, and by no I mean every single rumor points to the fact that Config will be joining Astralis. Yeah. So someone has to leave.
Only one. This town's not big enough for the both of us. They're going to have like a 1v1 on
red line.
On a red line, yeah. They're all up India. They have to have a 1v1. So they have to, they have like the Wild West music. They go, this town's only big enough for this town's not big enough for the both of us, and they have to like quick draw on each other.
Yeah, they're not going to get rid of Lucky. They just brought him in, and he's looked pretty good. Pretty good for Astralis for right now. 0-2 in the major standards. Let me rephrase this.
Fine.
Slave just signed a massive contract. Zip just signed a massive contract, so it won't be either of them. So we're left to Dupree and Aizyesque. You have bets on which one goes.
If only one went, Aizyesque, because I think it makes more sense for another team to sign Aizyesque.
Okay. Before we continue, I have an update.
You have an update.
FaZe have officially qualified for the Legends stage.
Hell yeah.
I think it's called. FaZe have officially qualified for the Legends stage, 2-0ing VP, which means for the first time in years, FaZe might actually do something.
Yeah. It would be so funny if they made it to the final and choked again. Oh my God, it would be amazing.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? It's not going to happen. But imagine FaZe gets the final and choke to Liquid.
Or Godsend.
Well, the reason that they Liquid is because you have Stu on one team, Carrigan on the other. So it's just, literally, it just goes through Carrigan's head the entire time in the match. Oh God, I'm going to lose to North America again.
Yeah,
oh God, I'm going to lose.
So he just like immediately banned Inferno.
Again.
I don't know if FaZe have a permaban, but they're going to like issue it and just ban Inferno. They're just like, I'm not having it. I don't care. We're banning Inferno immediately. I refuse to play this against Stewie 2K.
They actually removed Vertigo, which sounds about right.
Yeah.
Their second ban this match was Inferno, but I do not think that they normally play Vertigo. So that sounds about like a permanent.
Yeah, they're just gonna like fuck it, just leave Vertigo open. We're banning Inferno. I refuse. I can't. I haven't choked on Vertigo before. We'll be fine.
We have never played Vertigo. I don't care. We've all played in Pugs like twice. That's good enough.
Yeah. They're gonna like be DMing like Dawn and Chaos like, yo, Vertigang, we need some tips. Like, we're gonna have to leave it open because I refuse to play Inferno. Like, how do I hold this? How do I hold B?
All right, you got anything else? We're still waiting on the result of that Copenhagen Flames game because they didn't 2-0.
I think we could probably just take sort of 30 seconds to just laugh at the fact that Astralis are 0-2 just to make sure. Like, they lost 16-6 to their old academy player, Zyphon, or Copenhagen Flames.
Yep.
Like, Copenhagen Flames are up for sale, so they could quite literally sign some of these players.
I mean,
And they,
Astralis could do the most big brain move and just sign the entire team and move their entire regular team down to Astralis Academy.
well, they could definitely do worse than signing Nikodos and Roy.
Yeah.
They could do worse than that.
I like how Roy was the least sought after player for Mad Lions.
And he's probably the best one.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I thought Bubzkji was a monster on that team, and I think he's been pretty mishandled by Astralis, but, even when he's had chances, he hasn't looked that great.
Certainly not A-Core.
A-Core, yeah, he's kind of
actually, Refresh could be up there.
Yeah, Refresh but he was another one who was kind of, his stock dropped for a bit.
Yeah.
And he's been pretty
regardless,
good.
This is not time to talk about Mad Lions. This is time to laugh at Astralis.
Yeah, I mean, and then 16-6 to Entropic as well. Like, 16-6 to Entropic and Copenhagen Flames. Think, this is Astralis. They won the last, 15 fucking majors or some shit.
They won 4 out of the last 5.
Yeah. And they're going at that's 16-6 to Copenhagen Flames. They're with their old academy player on it. Academy player?
And that's not like an old academy player. That's not like saying like
he left 2 months ago.
I was gonna say that's not like, oh yeah, the X played for the academy 3 years ago for you and have gone around. No, this is like, I think
this
it was
recent.
I think it was like Cologne. They were like, yeah, we're gonna say Zyphun or whatever. It wasn't Cologne. Maybe it was like Kato early in the year. They were like, yeah, we're gonna say Zyphun is the 6th man for the roster for this, not because he's gonna play, but just so he gets some experience in lands and stuff. And then he just goes and beats them and Copenhagen Flames. It's a great time.
Yeah, good experience he got, clearly.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Entropic are a good team, but you can't be getting 16-6 by them. Like, you get if you lost 16-14 in a best of 1, you go, all right, fine. Entropic are a good team. Upsets happen. 16-6, that's dominant. That is a dominant performance from Entropic.
It's disgusting.
It's great.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's as a Liquid fan, not even as an NA fan, not even as a Counter-Strike fan, as a Liquid fan.
Yeah, because it means Liquid might actually win a final if they get to it.
Right? It's the only thing stopping them right now.
Wow, it was the only thing stopping them 2 years ago. I don't know about right now.
Yes. Yeah. To make it very clear that I know that Astralis being there is not the only thing. Okay, so Liquid put out a video ranking all the teams in the major, and they had to put Astralis there twice because they put Astralis in S tier against them and then C tier against everyone else. And I was just like, you didn't have to do it to yourself, but I guess you did.
If Astralis do go out in this stage, will Liquid have more major trophies than any other team in the on their players?
Liquid already are 2nd place, yeah, because they have 3 major trophies between Fallen's 2 and S2E's 1.
So, first land back, if anyone's more experienced than them, well, there is nobody more experienced than Liquid, so, maybe that's
there is. It's called Astralis, who are 0-2.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming they're out, honestly.
And then
because we've already agreed that Godsent are making it through.
And land experience in general, Liege has 1 million land games.
Yeah, Liege just he's 22 and he's been around for about 15 years.
He's 24, but still.
He's younger than me, so he's a kid.
Yeah.
He's 15 as far as I'm concerned, because he's younger than me.
Yeah, he's been at a lot of majors. So
yeah, he's been playing since he was 10 or something. He's been around for ages.
It's the older brother Counter-Strike thing, man.
Yeah, it's such a I'm so disadvantaged at CS because I'm an only child.
I don't have an older brother. It's just
do you have a younger brother?
No, I don't have any brothers. I have sisters.
Well, are they older or younger?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd say there's maybe still time to introduce your younger sister.
No.
No? She's not
2 years younger than me in college? Probably not.
Yeah, okay.
I think we're out of the ballpark now.
Yeah, you could just gotta I need to have a child so I can teach them, get them in early. You know what I mean?
All right. And on that, we're going to end for this week. Thank you for joining us for the first day of major recap. My name has been Logan. This is Aizyesque. Follow us on Twitter at ReadTLDR, at Logan Ramhap, and at Aizyesque. We will see you all again next week.
Peace, gamers.